Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to the medical edition of Dave Digs History. I am the host for the edition, Dr. Toombs, at your service. We're going to continue on in this episode with the medical sectarianism series of medical sects, if you will, that existed in the 19th century American medical world. We've discussed this before. We've already done 3 episodes. One was on Thompsonians, one was on the hydropaths, and then there was the introduction to the entire series. And what I'm going to do here this time is take 2 of these sects, combine them into one program right here, just because in practice they were quite alike. They paralleled each other for quite some time in many ways until such time as they didn't. What we're going to discuss now are botanicals, herbal medicine, plant-based medicines, and then we're going to move on to this gentleman right here, Worcester Beach from Connecticut. He is considered to be the father of the eclectic medical movement in the United States. But first, before him, the botanicals. Botanical-based medicines go back a long, long way. They go back several millennia. The ancient Greeks used them, Egyptians also, Assyrians, Romans, Arabs, Persians. They all had their medicines based on plant material. And that continued on for several centuries, through the Middle Ages, through the Renaissance, right up to about the late 1700s, early 1800s, when regular-based medicines used by regular physicians began to make inroads into the world of natural medicines. Now, what do I mean by regulars? We've discussed these people before. Regular doctors believe in the use of essentially synthetic medicines based not on plant material, but on lead, tin, zinc, copper, mercury, sulfur. You get the picture. We've discussed this before. And they also believe in bleeding, purging, puking. Such therapies are called depletive. You can imagine why. Now, he founded, as I said, the eclectic medical movement in America. Before we go any further, let's just define our terms here to make sure that we're all on the same page. What is meant by the term eclectic? Well, here we go. Eclectic, quote, a style, method, or taste that selects and combines the best elements from diverse sources, systems, or historical periods, rather than adhering to one single approach. End quote. Here's the story of Worcester Beach and his founding of the eclectic medical movement. He apprenticed himself to an herbalist in Connecticut and became enraptured with the whole idea of becoming a doctor. And he enrolled in a medical school and found out quite quickly these folks here teach depletive methods. They are regulars. They teach regular curriculum. I want no part of that. But there's this fellow Samuel Thompson. We've discussed him before. He looks good. I'll affiliate myself with him. And so for a while, it looked good, because Thompson had a system of plant-based medicines and had a philosophy that said, all diseases are caused by cold, all cures are caused by heat, and the way around that is to use botanical medicine. But Worcester, over the course of time, thought that's much too simplistic a way of looking at medicine. It's not very holistic, so to speak. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to found my own movement. I'll call it the eclectic movement. And he did. Because it emphasized plant materials and did not use synthetics and did not advocate the use of purging and puking materials, it caught on with the patients. It's all about the patients in his mind. The movement caught on and expanded fairly rapidly. He opened up in the 1820s a school in New York City that was the first school devoted to the study of botanicals in the country. And there are other schools that broke off and went to other places. One of them was the Eclectic Medical School of Cincinnati, Ohio, and that we've discussed in an earlier episode. And again, why did he do this? Let's listen to what he has to say. This is the why part. Mercury, the lancet, and the knife are chiefly relied upon by physicians and surgeons of the present day for the removal of almost all diseases incident to the human body, notwithstanding that the effects of these deleterious agents are evidently fatal to multitudes. That's why he founded the movement. Now, I had mentioned that we're taking two of these sects and combining them because they're so parallel. This is where we're going to diverge. Yes, the botanicals use plant medicines. Yes, he used plant medicines. But here are the differences between the two. The schools that he founded took a scientific approach to the plant-based materials. They subjected them to analysis, critical and clinical observations to see what's the efficacy of this, how does this work, or not. Also, botanicals, the people, they tended to use one plant for one disease. These folks, the eclectics, they tended to use concoctions based on several plants in one compound and gave that to the patients. Now, the movement, as I said, took off quite rapidly and expanded. He was a prolific writer. He wrote many books on the works of eclectic medicine. And for a while, it looked like it just might be them that takes the top slot in the medical world. But there were forces aligned against him eventually. For instance, doctors representing the regular sex and societies put pressure, political pressure, on localities and even the state legislatures to create legislation that disfavored any sort of alternative medicine and favored the regulars. Also in 1910, there was the Flexner Report. Abraham Flexner was tasked to do a survey of American medical colleges and then present his findings. What he found was, and presented, there's too many ways of practicing medicine in these United States. It needs to be simplified down to just a single standard methodology of medical practice. We need to get rid of some of these medical schools by making them conform to the one standard. And those who didn't, they should be removed from the picture, shall we say. Now, this caused, along with upward pressure from the regulars, and the so-called more scientific method of using synthetics as medicines to wear away at the influence of the alternative medicine folks. As a matter of fact, the United States Pharmacopoeia, master listing of medicines used in the United States, listed in 1820 that 67% of all medicines in use at the time were based on botanicals. But by 1900, that figure had fallen to 54%. By 1950, it was 16%. And in 1990, only 2% of the medicines listed in the United States Pharmacopoeia were plant-based. And although in more modern times you can still find practitioners of alternative medicine, particularly those who favor botanicals as their materia armamenta medical, they're no longer anywhere near being top dog in the United States. All good things must come to at least a partial end, and that's what happened to the eclectics. Thank you very much for tuning in to this episode. There are at least 2 more of these sects to go. And then when that's over with, we can go on to something else, perhaps a bit more interesting or exciting, perhaps. We never know. Until such time as our paths cross again, I have the honor to remain your most respectful and obedient servant, Dr. Toombs. coming to you as always from a long time ago. Good life and good health to you. Thank you very much. And now, Worcester, shall we go? You and I should have some words, I think. Good words.